This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 33 for December 4th, 2005.
It's unbelievable.
This is why I got into radio 30 years ago, just for this one moment. Thank you, Bob. This is
actually
mainly because Bob Heil sent us a care package of microphones, and I just had to show this
give
off.
it to you as a gift one of these days.
One of these days. You know,
send me a note, Dvorak.org.
I'll give you some information that might help you with that. My 30th year in broadcasting and my 50th birthday are both next year, a year from.
That's perfect timing.
A good time to do that.
Yeah. It's a big old condenser.
Dip it in
big
gold.
Tube thing.
Let me introduce the TWiTs, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, John C. Dvorak is here. Also sitting to his right, Robert Heron from PC Magazine.
Hello.
Also from Digital Life Television, which is going great guns now that Patrick's back from Baja.
Seriously.
Patrick Norton is also here.
Patrick Norton's always on vacation.
I learned that from you.
We saw how important he was to the
learn
production.
from the best.
You could only do a 3-minute show while he was gone? What's that all about? I'm going to be gone next week. Maybe we should do a 1-minute
I did that before
tweet.
I left.
Really?
What was the 3-minute show? That was the one where I was like, hey, I'm going to be gone. We're going to do more shows next week.
We're not gone.
I got some questions for us. Kick us an email. We got huge. You basically asked a bunch of questions to the
That's
viewers
good.
about what they wanted.
So you got more response with doing the 3-minute show? Is that what you're saying?
No, we asked them. We
Less is
specifically
more.
targeted. We did 3 minutes of like.
He did.
Please send us an email answering these specific questions about how you want to receive
That was the week I was down in Los
DL.TV.
Angeles.
Yeah, that's why you couldn't do a show. Also here from Pixel Core, Mr. Alex Lindsay, who has a gift for all of the TWiT Army members. We'll talk about that a little later on. We also got a little gift for all of the panelists today. This is, I presume he gave this to us for a plug, so let's give him the plug. It's called Droid Maker. Tell us, what is this?
I actually asked for it. Michael Rubin used to work at Lucasfilm back in the, he was the original video droid demo guy. And so he was at Lucasfilm, a long time ago, and he persuaded Lucasfilm to let him write this book about not so much the movies, but how all the technology came together. And so, and the only reason I asked for it for everyone because he was talking at an event I was at, and it was just fantastic. It's just all these stories about the Pixar machine and the, all the techie stuff that George brought to life.
We didn't autograph it.
I had one that's autographed.
You know where my
I just
son
didn't
is
know
right
who was
now?
going to be here. So.
At an 11-year-old birthday party where they've rented all 9 Star Wars movies, and they're going to show them sequentially.
That's going to be a long
Can
party.
you imagine anything worse?
It's only 6.
Lord of the
Oh,
Rings.
there's only 6?
Yeah.
No, actually, Lord of the Rings. Actually,
I
the first
do all
3
three.
Lord of
You
the
do a
Rings.
trilogy
they had
of
a plot.
trilogies?
It was
No, he did
exciting.
3 and then
that
3
last
more.
one.
Oh, all right. Well,
And
that's
it's
not
the
6.
last one.
It's a mere 15 hours.
Oh, and this sounds miserable.
You still have to get through episode 1, which is just.
Is he going to do it in order from episode 1 through?
They're going to do it in chronological order.
It was
so
visually
When they were
stunning.
released?
We had to talk about
Or when
the
they,
script. You didn't
or
have
with the
to do it
chronological order of the story?
Now, see, we're doing exactly what we're not supposed to do. We're
Yeah,
all
you're talking to
at the
him,
same
I'm talking
time.
to him. What is
It's
this?
not
Like
a cocktail party, guys.
Okay, we're going to do this one in surround sound.
Why
so
is it
feels
that when
like
we?
it.
Why is it when we
That'd
do?
be a great idea. Do a surround sound radio broadcast so we were like around and the person sits in the middle and it's like they're in the conversation.
We can do that. We were going to do a stereo.
We should do it. We'll do a version of that.
Yeah, the Pixel Works guys are over here. The sound guys going, "Oh my God, this guy's nuts."
No, we can
No,
do five.
no,
There is a
stop him from talking.
There's a 5.1 podcast. Somebody's doing one.
It's just it's just panning the stuff. It sounds awesome. We did some internal tests. We just haven't put it out, so we can definitely.
The problem with it is that the file literally is 5 times bigger, right?
No, it's just twice.
Oh, stereo.
Well, it's just stereo.
Oh, you
stereo
do,
will
you
sound
do
great.
a
It'll just
binaural.
sound.
Yeah, it's a little nerdy. Forget I even mentioned it.
We did launch a couple of we launched one new podcast, and we're going to launch another new podcast. We've been very busy. Amber's Inside the Net. Amber MacArthur, my co-host on Call for Help, she's doing Inside the Net, which is a look at Web 2.0, web services, that kind of stuff. And that was debuted at number 1 on iTunes in the first day.
Does that mean you're going to ditch us now?
Yeah, that's it. I'm through with you. She's a lot cuter.
No.
And then, but no, actually, John and I did a trial of a new show. We're still working out the kinks on this one. It's your idea, though.
I was going to say, you guys actually did this podcast you've been talking about for, what, 22 weeks?
No, not the podcast we were talking about for 22 weeks. We're still talking about that one. This is a new show that we're which means that's typical. No, this is another show. This is where we got together with Larry Lessig and we discussed the Google case, and the show's called Triangulation, which is three guys. Here's the idea:
3 guys, 1 topic.
3 guys, 1 topic, but 3 guys that are in kind of agreement, because these shows that are these debate shows where you have artificial dichotomies, which just because you're a George Bush guy and not because you're a Democrat, these kinds of phony baloney.
All you liberals,
Right.
the way you act, you liberals, you don't think.
Exactly.
It's all heat, no light.
And so what we want to do is try to do a show where which is kind of what we do here, which is you build on the total combined knowledge of everybody involved. Right. Like when we do TWiT, we have 5, 6 guys here, and we know nobody knows everything or even the whole pieces of all the puzzles, but combined it's kind of interesting. So it's the true educational educational broadcasting model that was when broadcasting was invented, and when the FCC formed, it was to promote this kind of thing. We're doing it.
Yeah, because nobody wants to do all light and no heat.
This is so cute because you look like look at you. You're gleaming. It's like you two
He's got
sound like
another one.
Pacifica Radio, and this is the,
Yeah,
this
right,
is the
yeah.
no, this is the perkiest I've ever seen you in a
Pacifica
decade. This is
Radio, it's
beyond.
funny.
Tell them about the other podcast you want to do, or you want to keep that a secret.
I don't know, what was it? Oh, we're gonna do. Oh, yeah, we have a potential wine and food podcast, or probably just a restaurant review podcast. I've got a bunch of people lined up. We want to do a website. We'll spin a podcast out of it.
Throbbing Gristle, it's going to be called.
Actually, that's a band.
Oh, that's right. We can't use that. I
But
knew
there
there
was a better
reason.
one.
That's a terrible name. What's it? You have a better name for
No,
that?
I thought you were going to use
Yeah.
Coney Island.
No, yeah, we
Frog's
use
Legs.
Coney Island Frog's Legs. Yeah.
I hope you registered that.
No.
You have 2 days to register.
Yeah, we got other names.
Top story today. I mean, it's hard to pick. We had a lot of stories, but I thought the most interesting one is actually 2 stories about Wikipedia. Starting with John Seigenthaler, the father of the NBC News correspondent. He was an aide to Robert F. Kennedy. And there's an article, a biographical article about him on Wikipedia, which makes the very false assertion that he was somehow suspected in the JFK assassination. And Seigenthaler really, and I understand why.
Hilarious, this entry, which is you read it, you crack up.
Well, and that's so he's desperately kind of old school trying to, well, who wrote it? He wants to know who wrote it.
Well, I'd like to know who wrote it too, because they found out that Adam Curry, which is this follow-up story you're going to bring up, was putting in, beefing up his
role in the
in the
invention of
podcasting, right?
podcasting.
But they found out he did it.
Well, yeah, because you can get the IP addresses, and they figured it out. Why couldn't they find out who did this? I don't get it.
They wouldn't reveal it, I guess, to Seigenthaler. He could do a John Doe lawsuit with the IP address, but you have to then go to the ISP.
Or maybe the person who did that was more clever about covering their tracks.
Maybe Adam signed it.
Or John should talk to Adam about how he can correct the wiki. I mean, that's the...
Well, it's an interesting. I think that's exactly what it is—a collision between kind of old school and new school. Old school, you think there's a responsible party. There's the New York Times. There's somebody you can go for a retraction. There's editorial, and that's not what Wikipedia is. Now, it makes a very good point that not only did it show up in Wikipedia, but then a couple of reference sites picked it up.
About.com was one of
Yeah,
them.
and I think I can't remember the 2. I don't want to be sued for libel, but 2 people picked it up just kind of without even looking at it and just included it. So it did get
scraped it.
legs.
They probably didn't even
They
read
scraped
it.
Yeah, it did get legs. So I think he has a point there. What do you think? Does this mean that Wikipedia doesn't work?
No, I think it works, but I think eventually they're going to get sued out of business. Seriously.
For something like this?
I mean, it's not a new problem, and it goes on at different levels in different places, and it has been for quite some time. It's why there's certain articles in Wikipedia they kind of reach a consensus and they lock it down so
Right.
nobody can edit it anymore.
Right.
Because they have problems with people who are arguing back and forth,
Israel, Palestine, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
where there's
yeah.
just abortion.
Republican, Democrat, dog, cat, whatever it is, and it's one of the things. You have this incredible assemblage of knowledge, some of which is more viable than others. I think I was gonna say my wife, the librarian, I can hear it quivering in the back, like,
She can come over here.
how do we
She wants to
verify
say-
this? How do we make sure it's legit?
But yet
Yeah.
I think Wikipedia is wonderful.
It's
I mean,
amazing.
Yeah, for quick information.
Well, and so
But I'm always skeptical when I read stuff.
Well, you should be.
But the funny thing is, if you're like, and your librarian wife would know this, and sometimes you can kind of smell whether
Say
it's
that with love, John.
no, I think you can. I think that's what we have to train our kids to do.
right. So you can smell out the BS.
You knew when you read it that you said it was funny. It wasn't You didn't take it seriously, the
Well,
posting.
who would? I mean, because if anyone has a clue, they'd know all the. I mean, we'd be beating the Kennedy thing to death. I mean, where's this guy's name crop up out
All
of
of
the
a
blue?
sudden.
Well, I think that one's I mean, I think that's an obvious one, but I think that we assume that the wiki is that much less accurate than the regular press. I mean,
And that's not necessarily true.
And like I was, I know for me,
reporters.
yeah, I mean, I mean, the thing is that most of the time when anyone writes about anything in a major magazine that I know a lot about, I look at it and go, these guys have no idea what they're talking about, Or I was in Zimbabwe during the 2000 elections, watching the elections happen on CNN, and the city that they were reporting that they said they were coming from was not the city I was standing in. I mean, it was just a completely different
no
reality.
idea.
Well, anyone who the first trip to China figures this out because what anyone thinks China's like is completely alien to what it's actually like when you go there.
Right.
And I've always said when you travel a lot, you always have this preconceived window what you think the world's going to be like, and then it opens up this way or that way. With China, it's over here behind you,
Right.
and it's like so you go there, you go, wow, this is interesting.
I always thought everybody in Germany wore lederhosen and drank beer and ate pretzels. What did I know? Right? Actually, they do.
Yeah.
That's a little known fact.
Doesn't it seem like this guy just did this for the publicity?
Siegenthaler?
Nothing more.
Or Adam
I mean,
Curry?
because
Or
Siegenthaler. I mean, why raise such a fuss about
I know.
a source of information that on every entry contains tabs for editing, discussion,
Because
reporting?
he's old school.
He's old school.
He's an older fella. He got very upset. Wrote an article in the USA Today excoriating Wikipedia.
Well, like
He
comes
probably
off as a
sued.
whiny. I just
Well,
short story.
I don't know. You know what?
Please,
somebody
either doesn't understand what Wikipedia is.
that's clear he
or-
doesn't.
My mom
Yeah.
doesn't either. I wrote about this on my blog, and somebody wrote in, why didn't the guy just go to Wikipedia and change it?
Edit it.
I do
Why
that
not
once in a
correct
while.
the info?
They
what you're supposed to
my
do.
bio said I wrote an article for Hustler, so I went in there and took it out. Didn't
I
come
thought you
back.
say 2 articles.
Yeah, it's 2 articles. Yes, that's right. I want to get it right.
Took it out. It said
And
that.
the centerfold.
It did.
Would somebody put that in there?
Yeah, I think it's funny.
That is funny.
But it is an issue. I mean, I'll give you another example, and it's very easy to create a false page on MySpace. Somebody's done that for me. I don't make a big deal about it because who cares? But it looks pretty
A
credible.
phony baloney Leo.
Yeah, but it looks pretty credible, and I think people believe it. We live in the world now where that can be done in a very public way. What do you do about it? You want to legislate
the
against it?
National Enquirer. It's called.
Yeah.
I mean, all of this stuff is. I don't see it. I don't see.
That's
the
public
separation.
figures. I'll give you an example, though. A friend of mine is a high school teacher, and former students of his made a nasty site about him. And by the way, try to get a bad site about you that's phony off of MySpace. Have you seen this arcane process you have to do? You have to take a picture of yourself holding up a newspaper. I mean, there's
It's
this.
like a kidnapper.
It's like a bizarre. I'll have to find it and read it to you because it's just.
Oh, you send it me a link. I'll blog
It's
it.
MySpace.
It's just,
What do you use it for?
oh boy.
You kidding?
Oh boy.
MySpace is basically a live journal on steroids.
Yeah, so
Basically,
the
like-
random musings of any dope.
Mostly kids.
You know what?
mostly
Nobody
teenagers.
under 20 years
Mostly
old
what?
knows
Oh,
about it.
It's
yeah.
it's
Okay.
yeah. It is
20
huge.
I mean, over, yeah.
And it's a huge driver for a lot of independent bands.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot-
local bands.
well,
For them,
a lot of
they
music on it.
focused on the music industry, and
Because you can do a lot of streaming on there.
Oh, okay.
and you have people who haven't heard bands you haven't heard of selling 500,000 CDs just through
No,
the
I really doubt
MySpace
that.
stuff. I mean,
I don't
Oh
know.
no, I've heard that.
No, no,
Absolutely.
it's-
You can hear this. I'm dubious.
MySpace.com.
you should
Even
Well,
50,000.
one other thing.
50,000 makes more
To
sense.
be honest with you, more than 10,000 would be. But the reports that I've seen, I mean, there's been a whole slew of articles talking about the groundswell of that.
One other thing, Rupert Murdoch just bought it.
Yeah, no, he bought it some time ago.
Yeah.
Like a
Relatively
month or two
recently.
ago.
500 million.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
gonna
surprised
see-
you don't buy
I
Live
don't
Journal,
know
which is
report.
the original of this sort of thing, except it doesn't have all
Because it
these
doesn't
features.
have the 15 million
Okay.
teenagers.
In order to verify, this is how MySpace tells you.
Oh, you found it.
Yeah, in order to verify your identity, please send us a, quote, salute. This means we'll need an image of yourself holding a handwritten sign with the word myspace.com and your friend ID. We can then remove the profile that uses your identity without your permission. I'm not sure what the relationship is.
Well, think about it this way: if the majority are teenagers and half the teenagers don't have driver's licenses yet,
Oh, is that it?
I mean, how do
So
you
I
get
make a
around
sign
it?
that says MySpace.
That's why don't you find your thing? I'd like to see it.
You want to see the Leo Laporte page? It's
Yeah.
not bad. If it were, I suppose
Is it
if
the
it
one
were
with you
really,
in the pimp hat?
that's actually my actual MySpace.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
You have a MySpace?
No, I don't. But I'll tell you who does, and I bet you this is my kids do, and I bet you your kids do.
No,
You don't know it.
my kids are more upscale than that.
Oh, really?
You know, they got their own servers.
This
Come
is
on.
down market.
So it's for singles, matchmaking,
I
families.
know.
You're
Oh,
supposed to
touch.
be over 16, and half the people are not. I can
Yeah,
tell you that right
12-year-olds on there.
now. Yeah. Let's
That's
see if I
for
can find
everyone.
my.
There's a lot of trolling going on that. Have you guys heard about do you guys know a local blogger named
Here it
Thomas
is.
Hawk?
No.
Price Right Photo. So it's guy went to buy a camera. The guy said he basically goes to buy a camera. Some weird stuff happens where they try to charge him for a bunch. Because we were talking about this on DL.TV. They go to you should buy a 4 extra batteries and a lens cap and all this other stuff. He's like, no, just ship it. And they call back. So a bunch
they
of stuff
always
goes back
do
and
that.
forth, right?
Yeah.
So
They upsell you.
yeah, they keep trying to upsell him, and he's finally like, "Look, this is horrible customer service. I'm going to write about it on my blog." So somebody at the camera place who's like, "I will never. Let's see. I will make sure you will never be able to place an order on the internet again. I'm an attorney. I will sue you. I will call the CEO
Just
of
because he
his
said
company."
bad things about this
Just because
company.
he said he would. He hadn't even put anything up on the blog. So the guy writes the blog entry, posts it up on Dig. In about 20 minutes, it goes berserk. In about 2 days, there's about 4,000 digs, which is a huge story on Dig. It's about 700 digs. It's close to 7,000 now.
huge
It's
story.
the biggest story
Yeah.
of the year.
So far.
Well, it's
Till some other bonehead lawyer comes along.
Oh, but this gets you'll like this part. The Dig community just went off on this camera store.
Oh boy.
They went completely off. They posted the store's aliases because they do the same place basically does business under like 3 different websites,
Oh,
phone
yeah.
numbers.
Love this.
It's
They
when those
started-
nerds get a mad, boy, they dig.
Don't
800
mess with us.
They crank calling him. They kept auto dialing the 800 number. They Skyped him. They launched DOS attacks against the websites. Posted bad reviews on websites.
We are not advocating.
Flooded. No, we're not advocating it.
But we're amused by it.
Yes.
We could use the Twit army this way, but we don't.
Yeah, let it be known. They basically they jammed the fax machine. Basically, so thousands of people just assaulted this store for like 3 days.
Wow.
You know,
And did he buy the lens cap?
Go back.
Oh, you want to see my
eventually,
site?
No, I want to read something
No,
that's on it.
actually, he ended up canceling his credit card because they threatened to charge his credit card with a bunch of extra charges. And eventually, the CEO of the company wrote him a letter basically apologizing and telling him that they were very sorry and that they fired the guy who had been off on him on the phone.
Of course,
So-
whether they really fired him or not. It always reminds
Well,
me
the
of
guy.
Yeah.
Well, he's
They got a
living in-
reaction.
He's now living in a cave in Afghanistan.
Well, apparently they just the business was pretty much shut down for about 3 days.
It doesn't take much.
I didn't do that.
I don't know, Leo, if you should be encouraging this with his thumbs up. Anyway, so
That was only for the video.
so I'm looking at Leo's phony blog site, the one that he didn't do. But here's-
MySpace.com/Leo is better.
So it's obviously a fan, but it's also a guy with some sort of a perverse sense of humor because you read Leo's interests and it goes computers, technology, video games, call for help, screensavers, and fixing appliances.
That's quirky.
Actually, that part's true.
Dig that.
You should see me with a toaster.
Yeah, I'll bet. It says you're straight, though. That's the good news.
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't too bad.
5'7", and it says body type 5'7" with some extra baggage. I got a lot of laugh from the audience.
The peanut
Thank you
gallery
very
loves
much.
that. First of all, I do have extra baggage, but I'm a little taller than that. It's hard to tell on TV.
5'11", it says there.
5'11"?
Yeah.
Oh, that's I'm a little shorter than that actually.
Okay.
That's the problem. I'm too short for my weight. So the
Aren't we all?
yeah. So the what's his name? David Byrne, Talking Head
right.
fella, has got in trouble with the recording industry.
You know you're in trouble when you start attacking your own artists. You start going after them.
That's
Yeah.
a bad sign. So
it's
David Byrne
hopeless.
has I guess he has a
cannibalism.
downloadable radio show. It's not even streaming, and he did a Missy Elliott special. And apparently, the
Did the
RIAA
rights for any of the songs? Didn't pay an ASCAP.
no, that wasn't what they were mad about.
What were they mad about?
The apparently the law or the law forbids that streaming radio feature more than 4 tracks by any one artist in a 3-hour period. So you're not allowed to do a special about a single artist. And he says my stuff's not even streaming, but apparently they consider streaming and downloadable the same thing. The assumption being the sale is lost because I guess what you'd record all the Missy Elliott
Oh,
songs.
yeah,
and
absolutely, sure.
I know I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, those 64K streams are.
Yeah,
But
you
then
want
he
to get
makes-
those down.
Ever since in Sirius and XM did the satellite radio, Elvis and Sinatra channels.
All Elvis all the
Gone.
time. Ooh. He does make a kind of stunning admission. Back in the day, I used my boombox to tape things off the radio all the time. That's how I found out about music I didn't even know about. He's really
So what's the fine? What's the final thing that happens to him? Are they going to sue him?
He pays the statutory fee. He pays the fee to stream it, which is actually fairly steep. That's how they put most of these streaming stations out of business.
Right.
He says, is there a higher licensing fee I could pay that would let me do this? Is there a reason a radio station can play Springsteen round the clock, but I can't stream Missy Elliott? Apparently you can, but you have to license every song separately. Pay for each one instead of a lump sum.
It's a nightmare.
I just think that it's amazing that the recording industry is going after David Byrne.
Well, I mean, they're going after David Byrne, and then
He hasn't had a hit for a while.
What have you done for me lately?
They're going after David Byrne, and then they're going after 14-year-olds, mothers of 5, over
grandmas.
Yeah, I mean, this is great PR. Just really a great way to make friends. It's really just watching a whole industry take themselves down.
So far in the last 2 years, the recording industry has sued 14,000, or it has threatened to sue. We should say that most of these don't go to court, but it's threatened to sue 14,800 people. They filed 14,800 lawsuits, and most of the time, people settle. But now people are starting to fight back, and I think that that's actually very good news.
Clog up the courts.
Clog up the courts.
Well, I think they have to. I think people need to start making the RIA prove that it was them, that they were there, that it was them in front of the computer. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, it's you can tie it to an IP, but there's a lot more to it to really know whether. And exactly. I think if people start forcing the RIA to really prove it beyond a reasonable doubt,
but that's
I
also
think it's going to get a lot more complicated.
When you're in your room with a lawyer in a $3,000 suit that's looking at you and saying, "I'm going to own this house."
Right.
I'm going to keep your ass in court for weeks.
$5,000, absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's
And so really, it's
be judgment proof. That's my motto.
And how do you do that?
Just stay broke.
I'm working
John
on
C.
it.
Dvorak.
I'm doing my best.
Stay broke. I get no spam.
I love this case. Severely disabled mother of an 8-year-old girl. The RIAA claims the 8-year-old girl was downloading gangsta rap at 4:30 in the morning.
Could have happened.
Yes,
What's that
possible.
Song yeah. Here's one. A Seattle resident
Gangsta rap.
allegedly downloading 1,200 songs. She's being sued. She owes between $750 and $150,000 as a result.
That's kind of a range there.
Pretty big range.
But it's also, I mean, the laws that they're using to sue people were designed to put, large pirating operations out of business where they were printing and distributing CDs.
That's what makes me mad. There are good laws. Go after the pirates. Don't go after us.
Here's what I would say.
Mr. Laporte, you don't seem to understand the
great
severity
piracy
of
nexus
this.
in the entire world is in Malaysia. Go into Malaysia and bust it.
Start shutting
It's
them
run
down.
by the Chinese triads, and maybe it's a little more difficult.
Yeah.
But you guys are tough guys. Go after them. They're the ones
Lawyer
doing all the
in a three-piece suit, guy with a tattoo of a headless corpse. I don't know.
You have gutless guys. They go after little girls and they leave the triads alone. Come on.
8-year-old girl is easy. We got her. How about going after podcasters? Apparently, a podcaster. He runs vegan.com.
So I heard this. And he's got his 1,000
these
or
guys are weak.
500 customers.
He's got 1,500 listeners.
Aww.
Somebody hijacked his RSS listing and pod keyword, and then he contacted them. They said, "Well, you give us enough money, we'll give it back to you."
Yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting story, but I couldn't quite figure out what was really going on. I read that, and I could not make heads or tails out of what happened to him.
It couldn't happen to us, he said, hoping and crossing his fingers, because we could contact. The problem is that many of these sites.
Well, what happened? What you explain this story to me, because I read it, didn't quite get it. What happened? I mean, how did he get hijacked? I don't understand. He didn't lose his website.
No, what you do is you tell Apple or you tell somebody else that your RSS feed address is shifted, and so all of a sudden on iTunes or Odeo or Yahoo, when people go to what they think is your podcast, it's pointing to a different location.
Oh, okay.
Not your location.
So you just change the pointer.
Yeah.
So they think they're getting
that should
vegan,
be
and
easy
now
to
it's a
fix.
Beef council.
It should be easy to fix, but I mean, there's that. We actually, when
And it sounds illegal to me.
It seems like it should be. Yeah.
I mean, it's there's probably some sort of
The
lawyerly construct you can put together.
The thing that we would do is we have friends at Apple or we have friends
Right.
at Odeo at my Yahoo. We'd call them and say, "Hey, dudes."
but most people don't.
But most people don't.
Does it not require a password?
No, well,
in order to change
that's what
information?
happened to Dig Nation early on. Is somebody that you could go and if you if you don't want Apple's iTunes to carry your podcast, like let's say you're getting slammed on bandwidth or something, or you don't like Apple, or you could email them and say, please remove this podcast, and they were just auto-deleting it without doing any verification on the ownership of the podcast. So somebody who was, decided to pull a prank on Kevin, made Dignation disappear the day after it showed up on the front page.
But now Kevin has friends, and he doesn't have to worry about that.
There's a couple crackpots that...
Well, what they do, which is kind of sneaky, is they point the feed to their own feeds, but they continue to make it work.
Right.
So people are downloading, and as you build an audience, everything seems to be working. So if the podcaster's not paying attention, you can get, then you have a big podcast, and all of a sudden you have no control over it at all. And Apple says, well, what do you mean? If for the last 6 months it's been pointing to this address, then it's a little harder.
Right.
Nerd extortion is the worst.
I'm a vegan. I don't have a lot of energy to fight this one.
ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Leo at leoville.com. All you vegans out there who are loyal listeners, I'm on your side.
Vegans are from the planet Vega. Vegans don't eat meat.
I don't know.
Universal tries to claim it's illegal to email their employees. There's a website.
Have you seen this website?
This is unbelievable to me, this story.
I love this website. It's called
The website's really cool. I think it would be completely useless to use the actual emails on it, but it was amazing.
The website's called everyonewho'sanyone.com, and the idea is if you're a screenwriter, you get all the agents, all the studios, all the addresses are there, and you can bombard them.
That's how we got this job.
I'll never forget all the poor Patrick, the begging, the pleading, the emails. He sent me flowers once, candy.
Redirected your RSS and everything worked out.
The flowers were for some other reason.
Remember Morgan asked for Smarties once?
Yeah.
And then got inundated with Smarties candy?
Like 40 pounds worth.
You know what I found out recently? She's Canadian, right? The Smarties in Canada are very different than Smarties in the U.S. Smarties in Canada are basically M&Ms. She wanted M&Ms. She got...
Smarties.
Yeah, they're like sweet tarts.
Yeah.
They're like, ugh.
Hey, I like those.
She never said anything, though, I'm surprised she never said, no, this is the wrong kind of Smartie. She's
She would have got
nice.
another 40 pounds of
It's
M&Ms.
just the gift horse issue here. You don't,
Yeah, somebody
free
sends
candy,
you
man.
400
Patrick
pounds of
next
sugar.
time.
You're excited.
Oh, this is my friend Tila Tequila.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I have 109 friends. Rick James is one of my friends.
And well, he should be.
Back to MySpace. I'm sorry.
So how about that Skype and the video call update?
You want to talk about that? Skype's going to do video.
I'm still trying to get over the fact that Skype got purchased.
They're doing for $3.5
billion.
Which is a funny story because when I met with Michael Robertson and the guys, when they did Gizmo, they sat down at lunch with me before they rolled it out, and they were talking about the Skype guys. We're asking $3.5 billion, and they were laughing. Said, "Who is this guy's nuts? He thinks he's going to get $2 or $3 billion. Actually, maybe it was $2.5 billion.
Got it.
He got it.
So Logitech's doing a deal with them. They're going to offer Skype video software with the cameras, I guess. I don't know. Who cares? AIM does it. Yahoo does it. Everybody does it.
Everybody does it.
What's the big deal?
Hey, we did it
I think
like
the big deal
6 years ago.
We started the Netcam network.
Yeah, which I think
10,000
helped
of those
bring
out
down
there.
Tech TV. I always thought the Netcam network was the sleaziest thing that was on that channel.
Thanks.
And if you remember sorry,
You know how many Netcam people Leo and I talked to in the course of the years?
So every review of the Tech TV, ZDTV things would say, except for the amateurish kind of thing, and they would always bitch and moan about these sleazy little images that voices was wrong. It looked crappy.
No, that was Leo
and then it was the worst part about those things is that the image was really small and the whole thing was not even put on the screen correctly. It didn't look
whose
jazzy.
idea that was?
Probably Peter Hammersley or something.
That was
like
my idea. I'm sorry to say.
It was?
Yeah.
Well, you could have put the kibosh on it.
No, that was the whole idea from before the.
What he's trying to say is you've emotionally
yeah,
wounded
scarred
him.
me. Before the
Oh,
channel
that's
started,
possible.
I was talking with Candy Myers,
That's cool.
and we were talking about she's. We were still doing the site on MSNBC, and but it was pretty clear MSNBC was about to dump us.
Right.
We were starting
because of Diana.
Yeah, Diana died, and Ziff Davis announced they're going to do a network, and so why would you do a TV show with Ziff Davis? And so we went to the cafe around the corner. What was the name of that? I love
Universal?
that place.
No, the
New
Slow
York
Club.
Cafe.
Slow Club.
Right.
The food is slow, but the service is fast. Or is it the other way around?
Actually, the food was quite good there.
Food
It
was
was
great.
good.
The service was brutal.
We should do this show from the
Exactly.
Slow Club.
It's too noisy in
take a
the
look.
joint.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
After hours.
Good lemon drops, though.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Hey, back to the story.
So you're there with Candy Myers.
Lemon
You're
drops.
toasted.
So she's saying, what would you do? And I said, well, I do this call-in radio show, and it'd be really cool. You could turn it into TV if you only had some way to see the callers. And that's when...
Bingo.
Bingo.
Oh, brother.
And, they got 20,000 of those used robotics cameras.
Yeah.
Literally. 10?
10.
It doesn't matter. Past 5,000, it's all the same.
Yeah.
They were giving them away like water.
We couldn't get rid of them fast enough. They
Yeah.
just continued the camera. We still had 5,000 left. Couldn't get software for the thing. We still had 3,000 left.
Well, you could still get it. We just had to make it available in strange ways.
Microsoft OneCare.
Right.
This is the
Speaking of nerd distortion,
This should have been killed, this story, for today, but go ahead.
Why should it be killed?
It's just a stupid... I mean, they try this stuff all the time. It's not
No.
really news.
Microsoft's brilliant. Listen, here's what you do. You create an operating system that's full of security flaws and holes, and then you make people pay you a monthly fee to keep it up to date.
this is the first real strategy we've seen from Microsoft in a decade.
It's brilliant.
It's unbelievable.
It's free right now. It just launched. And by the way, the Microsoft product manager calls the beta a home run.
Oh, brother.
Next story.
Microsoft Max, though. The
What's
new
that?
Beta. It's like photo editing /
Oh, yeah, yeah.
software. It has honestly a very sweet interface. I don't know how well.
No, what's this?
Microsoft Max. It's a new beta that they just put out, and it is essentially codename Max. It uses the WinFX runtime components, which are basically some of the graphical components that will be part of Vista.
So you have to download a big chunk of...
List your photos, turn them into beautiful slideshows, and share them with family and friends.
And they're going after
yada
the
yada
Apple
yada.
thing.
It sounds like an open platform for. It will be more than just photos.
It's
but
Flickr 4.0.
Exactly.
essentially. And I've used Google.
Have you played with it?
I love Picasa.
I just discovered it today.
Okay.
It's been out for a month or two.
Have you played with it? Anyone play with it?
But
I play with it
Picasa,
briefly. It's beautiful. I think it's one of those things where it looks great, and how usable, how useful is
I'll
it is
check it
another
out.
question. Yeah. It's worth checking out.
The basic stuff though for Max, it seems like it needs a couple of basic, some basic image fixing features. That
Walt Mossberg has gone over to the dark side.
He's always been over there.
No, but this is it.
This is the worst, you
This
say?
is the worst.
What happened?
Walt Mossberg.
This is not the worst.
He says, "I've been
been worse
testing
than
the new
this?"
iMac. Our verdict is it's the gold standard of desktop PCs. To put it simply, no desktop offered by Dell or Hewlett-Packard or Sony or Gateway can match the new iMac G5's
sounds
combination."
like ad copy.
It sounds like ad copy. This is the Wall Street Journal. Can match the
this
new.
is Walt Mossberg of the Wall Street Journal. It's even weirder.
I mean, listen to these adjectives: power, elegance,
Any
simplicity.
bets
This
that
is one
if
sentence.
he retires, where he'd go to work?
Yeah, I guess. Well, he gets great treatment. I've seen him at Macworld. We were slogging away saying, "Mr. Jobs, Mr. Jobs, Mr. Jobs," and Steve literally pushes us aside and puts his arm around Walt Mossberg, and they go off.
Well, wouldn't you?
A friend of mine was working an Apple booth at a trade show about 2 years ago, before they started getting the processor speed up, and there's sort of a young, very enthusiastic Apple employee there that he's trying to contain. And Mossberg comes walking up to one of the iMacs, and the kid runs up and he's like, "Mr. Mossberg, is there anything I can do to help complete your experience?" And Mossberg's hands are going up to the keyboard, and apparently he just turns to him, looks, and says, "Don't ask me any questions. Leave me alone unless you can tell me why these things are so slow."
Well, that was a couple of years ago. Because he doesn't. I see elegance, simplicity, ease of use, but I don't stability, security. I don't see slow anywhere in here. And he also says it handles all common Windows files as well as the internet and email with aplomb. And he says, contrary to misconceptions, this Mac is competitively priced. Actually, I have to say, I do like the new iMac. One thing that they did I really like. Have you seen this new front row application? It's basically a media server. It's got a remote control.
It's cool.
I think it's
Well,
really
have you heard
slick.
about the rumors about the next generation
Mac Mini? That's a media machine.
It has potential.
You think?
It could be, but
$499?
What will be the hardware support?
Have
That'll
you
make or
seen it?
break it. I could care less. It's vaporware at this point. And
It's-
it has Microsoft has it in the bag right now with Media Center Edition.
Now-
2005 is an amazing app.
Really?
It supports. It's as good of a front end as I've seen on any of
Just
the
buy
I've
a
seen
two-
it. It's actually quite good. And
applications.
what's really nice is the way it interfaces with the Xbox 360, so you can just hook that to your TV, to your HD.
I think what
It's
you're going
also
to
in
have
your
is-
Try a TiVo. It's $200.
But I think that what we're
That's a
talking
good
about,
point,
the
too.
rumors are with the Mac Mini, you're talking about a DVR that'll record it straight to your iPod. your iPod
That
video.
would be
That's
their version.
You know, I think the
that's a big
iPod.
deal.
I think all. I
that
think I
would
should
just
have
be a
brought.
patch for
I
Media
think that's
Center.
a dead end technology.
TiVo's
Yeah,
already
they
has.
haven't been selling any of them at all.
No, I'm not saying that you
We
can't
talked
sell
about-
them, but I'm telling you, these things are going to be doorstops.
We
I mean,
talked about this-
nobody's going to watch television on this screen.
Yeah, it is
Come
a little
on.
small, I have to say.
I
It's
guess.
not compelling to me.
Well,
so
it
I
may not be.
have
Let me
one-
tell you, it may not be
what's the-
compelling,
cover
but
the whole
boy, there
face
are a
with a
lot of
display.
people downloading video in that format.
Yeah, it's short term. It's a bump in the road. You watch 2 years from now. You
DLTV,
say what happened.
You offer iPod version
Yeah.
of DLTV? Is that the biggest version that you download?
No,
What's the?
but it's up there.
What is the ranking?
I haven't gone over the last 2 weeks of log files, but we've been pretty neck and neck with WMV H.264 in the iPod format.
It's TiVo. We talked about this last week. TiVo announced they're going to offer a way to offload your TiVo to your iPod and your PSP.
Well, they already offer with the latest to-go software. You can now easily move, easily as in moving it through a USB 1 connection, large video files, back and forth to your PC already.
Right.
And from that point, you can do whatever you want with it.
Sure,
at
you
this
could always
point.
put it.
USB
but they say
1.
Yeah,
Well, that's no
that's
good.
too slow.
that is.
They say direct
insanely slow.
download to the iPod and PSP. I think that's what I gathered.
Well, that'll just mean that the TiVo to-go software will add the functionality for encoding to that format.
Yeah.
And as it is right now, if you want to encode that to anything that will play outside,
Don't they want to pay the extra
of the
5
TiVo to-go
cents
software.
for the USB 2 technology, or what?
or how about just an Ethernet connection?
No, I bet you it's the movie company saying, you could do it, but it has to be really slow.
I wouldn't.
And
you know,
there's-
that's. You seem like you're trying to be funny there, but in fact, it's possible.
Of course it is.
Yeah,
Of
well,
course
they're
it
also
is.
actually apparently going to be selling movie tickets over the TiVo. One of the many strange options that are
Actually, I
coming up
talked
on
to
the TiVo.
Samsung when they were bringing out all those uplink. You know, they have all these up converters for their DVD players. You can get
Right.
720p off of a regular DVD player, and it's
Kind
and
of.
only through HDMI. You know, and I'm saying, why can't you get? Although the early ones had DVI, and there's still some company that has one with a regular component
I
video.
hate HDMI.
Really?
And
Why
I
do
said-
you hate HDMI?
It doesn't lock into the connection.
falls off.
And a lot
Oh,
of
right,
these
it's a
new
crappy
TVs are
connection.
putting the connections that point
Yeah,
straight
mine
up.
is that,
So
the sharp
and now,
hook.
what's the solution? Add a little strap to hold your cable in place.
Yeah.
Or duct
know what I
tape.
like it,
$3,000
though?
television, $150 cable.
And besides that, how many
60
people,
cents worth of
how many
duct
people
tape to keep the two
realistically
together?
need audio and video on the same cable?
What's wrong with that? One
For-
cable.
How many TVs have 5.1?
Oh.
Well, let me get
I
back.
like-
I mean, it's easier
Let me
for
finish
stereo,
my
but-
story so people don't. Because when you listen to radio, people, what was the end of that story? The end of it was they wouldn't do it in component video because Hollywood said no, we won't.
Yeah. They want digital because they can copy protect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wankers.
I mean, what difference does it make? I want to rent a DVD. I want to watch it at 720p. I've got an older HD screen or projector or whatever. I want to watch this thing. No, I can't.
Well,
I don't wanna
Macrovision's
copy
responsible
it.
for not being able to do the upscaling over component. All the upscaling DVD players can only do it through digital output.
I can find you one that actually has component.
Oh no, I know they have component connections.
No, that does the up.
with a copyrighted disc.
As far as I know, I mean, maybe there's some gotcha in there.
Mine is
It was-
HDMI.
Well, check it. I mean, I've just never seen a player
Oh.
that it's legit. There might be a hack that enables that feature,
I'm
but
not saying there's
Macrovision
not a
protection.
hack, but-
Part of the Macrovision protection
Hey,
is that you can't do that
Is the
over.
president of Apex still in custody in China? I think he is. Isn't that a wacky story? Did you hear that
No,
story?
tell us.
So Apex is. Remember, we all ran out and bought Apex DVDs. The deal was a Chinese-American fella. Chinese-American fella realized that you could make cheap DVD players that were good, and he did a deal with the Chinese government.
Kind of.
Kind of good.
It was kind of a 50-50. It either ran for years or it blew up in the first 2 weeks.
And they actually, I think the later ones were better, and then they started making TVs. But apparently, he wasn't paying the Chinese government for these things he was selling, or they claimed he was understating sales because he's in China now
It's
in
like
custody.
Things with no country code, and they had all these features.
Yeah, that was the great thing about the Apex. It had a back door. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But anyway, so yeah, poor guy. Now, I mean, he's a kind of. There's no legal proceedings.
Is he
He's
not
just.
paying royalties? That's what they're angry?
Well, this
paying royalties to who? To China?
China was making them, building them.
Oh, and he never paid him?
And he never paid them.
Oh,
That's what they
I
claim.
don't think
I'm
that's-
sorry, if you make a
Skip
deal
out,
with a
yeah.
sovereign nation or maybe
Well, that's the
a
problem.
high-ranking
It
general
was a-
in a sovereign nation,
That's who it
you
was.
don't you know what I mean?
You should
take
pay
your-
them.
you
Yeah,
take
it's
your
just
life
very
in your
simple,
hands.
you know?
He claims they were being paid, but
you know what? Maybe he was. Maybe he's
Should've
right.
kept
Maybe
the
there's some
receipt.
corruption here.
you don't want to mess around if the Chinese government is making you TVs, you're right. Pay the bills. Pay the bills. Hey, we didn't mention if Apple were going to do this media center, would they announce it at this new at DV Expo? Is
It'd
that
be unlikely.
That's not. That's a consumer product.
It'll be it's a consumer product. I mean, next week. DV Expo is where people will be showing off and announcing stuff.
DV Expo?
DV Expo is kind of like a smaller NAB. A much smaller NAB.
Where is it?
It's down in LA. There's a DV Expo West and East. And,
DV?
Digital Video.
Digital Video Magazine puts it on, and it's been a growing show, very successful.
Scuttlebutt is that Apple might do something with professional video now.
Oh, they're not going to do anything. There's Mickey Mouse. I'm sorry, a small show like that.
They have in the past, so that's why.
But not a big thing like a Mac Mini.
No.
It's I'd like to see them
when
just
you look
standardize the interface on Final Cut and compressor and everything. Sorry, I've just been
They're slowly moving that direction.
Well, just like the first 9 versions of the operating system were tightly controlled, and you start shifting applications in OS 10, and it's like, wow, this is a wicked ripping pain in the ass. It's right clickable here, it's not right clickable there. The menus come down there. They don't.
Is that because they bought it, or is it because?
No, well, Final Cut. I mean, everything is kind of wraps around. Like Final Cut kind of came the way it came, but you'll find that DVD Studio Pro and Soundtrack Pro, for instance, the interfaces are almost identical because that's when Apple really has.
Right.
They wrote it from
scratch. Yeah.
DVD Studio Pro, the first one wasn't written from scratch, but the second one was, or almost. I mean, it was really rewritten completely.
Intel in January. That's now the Citigroup. The Citigroup analyst is. I think this is definite now. Once the analysts start saying it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
That means they probably told them.
They
must
have
tell some of these guys in advance before.
Right.
I'd be totally blown away if we don't see
he
it.
Says,
I'm guessing the Mini, the iBook.
He
and
says
possibly the iMac.
ThinkSeeker was saying iBook. This guy's saying PowerBook.
The laptops need to be revved. I mean, they are getting really long in the tooth.
I love a Pentium.
And so I think that's why we haven't seen any major revision. But I don't know whether it's going to be January. There's a couple dates that Apple can use in the spring.
Yeah, but he can roll it out in January and ship later.
It's possible. They tend not to do it.
They
tend not to do it way ahead of time.
Yeah, they seem to like to ship right away.
Yeah, they want to be able to turn it over.
There's no reason they can't ship this thing already.
What they really like is everybody leaving the keynote, running across the street to the Apple Store, and buying every single unit. That's what they like.
That's what the Apple Store
I have to admit that's pretty much. It's right across the street, so I am always.
Why don't you just go to the Apple Store, folks, and be on a cell phone, and then when the word comes out and they throw the box in front of you.
I've done that.
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah, to get products for review.
Well, a lot of these guys are selling them on eBay. They know that there'll be a shortage, and they're running out.
I think the Mac Mini is one that's pretty high up on the list. I think because the Apple looks at it as their Switch machine.
PowerBook.
So I got some viewer mail this week I want to mention.
Yes.
A couple of things. One is that people are complaining or suggesting that you, Leo, get the store together because Christmas is coming.
It's coming. I'm working right now with a company in I don't know, somewhere. I gotta be careful. We said something about Tennessee, and I got a hate mail from people from Tennessee. Tennessee. Tennessee.
Fine
I love it. It's from Nashville.
It's a very nice place. They got great barbecue there.
Francis and Lusky. They're putting a store together. It looks great. We're trying to figure out how many items we can have so that people can. I don't want to have too many items because then there might be delays in getting them. So I want to have a reasonable selection. No, we're going to have T-shirts. We're going to have. I've already ordered
hats.
Hoodies. We're going to have hats.
The John C. Dvorak.
I get no spam.
That's a good hat.
Yep. Underoos. So look for that soon. I actually hoped it would be up by this week, but
I got another note from someone saying I was a bully last week or the week after, and especially I was bullying Patrick, and I guess the guy's never seen Patrick, lift or do dead lifting. It's like bullying Patrick is like a laugh.
You were all over my ass. It happens. You know what? Sometimes it goes right back the other way.
As well, these guys think that you're helpless, so I'm just mentioning it to you.
Well, I am a sort of a wallflower.
He is. He's a shrinking violet.
Patrick can walk down Market Street wearing a kilt and wearing a high-performance off-road shock over his shoulder and still gets the looks from the women. I'm in awe.
The funny thing is Patrick's an interesting guy from the one perspective. Because I've taken his picture a few times because I'm a photographer junkie, basically, and take everyone's shots. Patrick's one of the most photogenic guys I've ever shot. It's unbelievable.
Really?
He did tell him. I mean, you're photogenic. I mean, if you look at him in person, it's like, nah, this guy can't be photogenic because he's not really that good looking. But I'll tell you, the picture, holy mackerel!
Really?
It's astonishing, to be honest.
I've
about
worked with him for years,
Oh, no.
and I never noticed
It's
that.
astonishing.
I gotta eat you and my mother together. You two can really be all over me.
I'm telling you, no, seriously, when you take a lot of pictures, you see,
You learn.
and you get. But the thing is, the one weird thing about photogeneity is you don't necessarily know it.
You can't tell ahead of time.
You can try to tell.
Is
you.
it bone structure?
Yeah, I think it's
with
bones
him.
or
It's bone
something.
structure.
I'm not absolutely sure. He's got a big jaw and he's got a funny squint. I have no idea.
And the cabs.
It's a mirror, but you look at it, and go, man. Cover of
What they call
GQ.
you?
We're talking
When they
about.
say that you're the lunchbox Larry guy, what is the
I own the lunchbox crowd.
lunchbox crowd? Yeah.
Anyway, so that's that's the two letters.
Did
I
you
guess.
steal my BlackBerry? You did.
Yeah, it's right here.
All right.
You gonna
Oh,
talk
I
about
like
it?
always like it's kind of an.
I can
it's
make
a
calls
growing
with this
ultra
thing.
now. We need like candles on
This
this.
is an awesome phone. I actually really
Yeah,
like
Leo's
it.
got the new
8700.
black-
Oh, look, it crashed. That's one thing I don't like about it. It crashes a lot.
It crashed right in front of me.
Yeah.
Check
It's
for a firmware.
error number 200. Reset.
It doesn't just press return. And
Does it
it'll
have
reset.
a touch-sensitive screen?
No.
Oh,
But it's a beautiful screen. Anyway,
It's
it
got
may
a
be
scratch
completely
screen
useless
now.
in a month because BlackBerry lost their court case on Wednesday.
Well, did they lose?
You gotta
Let's
get a
talk
government
about
job.
that.
Yeah, I remember when you would buy something, and then the price would drop, and the rest of us could afford it. Now you buy something, and they lose court cases, and they go out of business.
They're out of
There's
business!
definitely some sort of a jinx.
No new Macs for you.
So the deal is that there is a patent holding company. You know, this is the thing. You create a company, you buy some patents.
No, that's not true.
NTP is not a patent
Not
holding
really. The
company?
guy actually did some inventing, and it's not like one of those sleazy patent holding
Okay.
companies. It's a legitimate guy with a legitimate patent.
And he has several
this-
patents, right?
Yeah, and they're all around this sort of thing.
And
now,
they're
whether
around-
the patent's any good is another issue.
Well, and that's...
But it's not like
Another-
that's not the story.
Okay,
I mean,
so he's not a sleazebag.
No.
He has several patents, though, about how BlackBerry delivers email. Something about a proxy server and email delivery. Claims that BlackBerry's infringing. They negotiate. BlackBerry claims they have a settlement early in the spring, a $450 million settlement. NTP says, no, there was no settlement.
Actually, it started with the 60 million, then it went to 1 something, and then it went to 4 something. It kept building every time you read. It started in 2002 or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's been going for 3 years.
And it's been going on, and then money hasn't been paid to anybody. It's been going into an escrow account just in case they do lose. But
Well, and this is what the judge ruled on Wednesday. He says, I've had enough. There is no agreement. We're going to settlement hearings, and that's it.
both
It's
companies
done.
seem to be very stubborn. Both of
Both
them.
are stubborn.
Both of them.
BlackBerry says, that's all right. We have an alternative method, although they haven't revealed this alternative method. Most analysts are saying now it's going to cost them at least $1 billion.
That's the latest,
to
yeah.
get the license. But then a little
Well, here's
monkey
another-
wrench.
here's another-
On
what-
Thursday, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office says, oh, by the way, one of those patents, it's not valid.
Well, there's one other thing here that doesn't get mentioned that much, and I talked to one of the attorneys about this, which is that the NTP guys, which shows that they're not really a classic, scammer, they don't know what to charge. The royalty rate that they want BlackBerry to pay is 8.5%. The industry standard for this sort of thing is around 4% or sometimes less. So they're actually wanting twice as much money. 8.5% is a ridiculous royalty for a licensing
And you
deal.
say this means that they're honorable people?
No,
because
it
of this?
means that they don't know what they're doing.
Or
If they
they're
had-
greedy.
Well, no, I think I believe that they're just naive.
Well, it sounded like with the $450 settlement,
$450
$450 million.
million.
$450
$450 million.
You know,
Like you sound like the RIAA here.
Yeah.
It's you either owe us $450 or $450 million.
Yeah, we're not sure exactly which.
Depends on
but we
what
know
we
there's
get
some
out of
illegal
it.
songs on your BlackBerry. There's with the $450 million settlement, it sounded like RIM actually walked away from NTP for unknown reasons. It wasn't actually.
RIM said we have a settlement. Then
No,
it turned out they didn't have a settlement.
It sounded like they walked away from some earlier agreement
story's
that
vague
RIM
at
walked
that
away
point.
from, and then RIM wanted to go back and say, "Oh, that settlement that we had 6 months ago, we actually
We'll
want
pay it."
We actually want to pay that." And I think that I don't know, but I think that what happened was their lawyers said, "I think we can invalidate the patents," and so they
Well,
said,
they
we're
have.
not going to pay the $450
There's
million, and they're starting to invalidate.
There's
them, but they
11
haven't-
patents.
and they've got
5 of them
five.
now are under review.
Right.
But that takes a long time. They don't have that kind of time because the court has already said, no, we're going to hearings. We're going to go to settlement hearings.
Well, whatever happens, happens.
I don't think you're. Well,
That's my
worst case
conclusion.
scenario in a month. Blackberries don't work anymore. You don't get email.
Well, I think that the
that brings
issue
up-
is that the government is saying we can't have our BlackBerries turned off, and RIM saying we can't separate it easily.
This is
and so that's why it's not
the
gonna go
real
anywhere.
issue here is how much infrastructure stuff like this, which becomes incredibly important to the entire society, can be turned off by edict, by lawsuits, or by whatever, or anything.
Michael Powell lived
it's a
on
bad
his
thing.
BlackBerry.
It's a bad thing.
The chairman of the FCC, I'm sure the new chairman lives on his
They
BlackBerry.
should just nationalize the
Well, if a
company.
town
and
in
turn it public
Connecticut
domain.
can kick
It's
a bunch of people
Canadian.
out of their...
Well, the Canadians can do it then. They can nationalize them.
They're practically socialists as it is.
And ladies and gentlemen in Canada, it's Leo at leoville.com.
Hey, I get my flu shots in Canada. Don't you forget it.
I did that last year.
Yeah, me too.
Because I couldn't get a shot here.
I happened to work up there, so they were doing it anyway. But
No semi-dead viruses.
But you can go to these health places in Canada and get a shot.
good news for New Orleans.
They're actually pretty cool. It's surprising.
Citywide free Wi-Fi for everybody. You may not have power. There may be water in your basement, but you've got Wi-Fi.
This
You
is
can be
actually
surfing.
the topic of this week's PCMagazine.com column, which is the fact that this is a kind of a. I think this is just a one-shot thing. I don't think free Wi-Fi is ever going to catch on because
Why not?
I think politically it's there's too many vested interests.
Yeah, Verizon won't.
Verizon
No,
has
I'm
too
not,
much
just
money.
not them. But think about it. You got Verizon, you got Comcast, you
Yeah.
got hotels that are charging $10 a night
That's
for
appalling,
this,
isn't it?
and you got Starbucks, you got McDonald's, you've got in any big city, you've got so many vested interests that are nickel and diming the public to death with this crap that there's
That
no
seems to
way
be less
that
of an issue right now in New Orleans, and they've also
no.
said that
Well, New Orleans is an exception, but that's the
Yeah.
only one.
And actually, in
in
this,
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia was quashed, and
no, Philadelphia has
No,
it,
Philadelphia
but
has
no
it,
one else in
But
Pennsylvania.
as a result, 11 states plus however many they've gotten since the last
I
time
think
I
it's
checked
13,
up on it.
yeah.
It basically can no longer have
and
municipal
in,
Wi-Fi because it's horrible for rural communities. I mean, forget about the big cities.
I think they're the ones who should get the free stuff. I think if you put
Yeah.
WiMAX in a rural area and just
But
put
the
everyone
problem is
online.
if the state legislature pushes through like, oh yes,
Well,
sir,
that's
Mr.
what-
Verizon representative,
well, that's
what a
what they did in
brilliant idea.
Pennsylvania.
You know,
They screwed the public there.
Well, in Louisiana, it's just it's simply limited. You can
512.
Yeah, 512. Well,
Yeah,
512
that's
is what?
the other
No,
thing.
fi-
What
no,
is the
512.
point of limiting the bandwidth? Who are they kidding?
Well, it's it's 512 right now. Is the big bandwidth?
That's what Google's doing in San Francisco.
By law, I think it's
It's not
128 in all of Louisiana. So you can do public Wi-Fi in Louisiana
But it
as
has to
long
be
as
lousy.
it can't be.
Be loud.
You can check. Yeah, you can check your email. And that's about all you can get.
do public Wi-Fi. A
least
chicken
I-
in every pot.
Wide open.
What was it Huey Long promised? A chicken in every pot and Wi-Fi in every home? I think
Chicken
so.
in every pot in a car, or two chickens in every pot in a car in every garage.
I do
Something
think that
fast.
it is something that people should really look at as far as the rural areas is where it's the most important, or more importantly, the small towns.
I agree.
This
They're
is a gentrification.
disenfranchised.
This is a gentrification
Right, and now that's a
opportunity.
really good idea.
to have
and you don't
centralized-
have all these, these vested interests trying to keep it from happening, so it's more doable.
And frankly, it's in the interest of city government. You can completely revitalize a
Right.
community. You can bring business. There's a lot to be said for it.
Yeah, except if you live in a little town.
Yeah, and I'm on the telecommunications committee, and
A
we're
little town of
working
what?
on getting.
Well, there's some
Wi-Fi.
probably more educated than a lot of these little towns that I've been to or lived in, which is that you got a bunch of boneheads, and
Well, that's true.
you got a bunch of these hard sell sales guys come in from some big company and they sell them on some horrible
Actually,
idea.
that's what we did. We bought
Monorail.
we bought a monorail going through town. It's got 2 stops. And we got 2
stop
traffic lights.
and the egg stop.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean,
But we're modern.
I do think in an information age when you could really work anywhere, there's a lot of people that would love to
I
move
agree.
to a little town.
I
That
agree.
if there was fiber into
Gotta
running
get
through
fiber.
it and high speed. I have a friend who has an ISP in Freeport, Pennsylvania. There's one stoplight, where I grew up, and he's slowly running fiber through the entire town.
This is
He's-
something I wanna hear
and preparing to
I
wire
think
it
there's a
all
lot
out.
of this going on. It's all under the
But
radar.
it's been happening in the Midwest for years, where people were doing line of sight wireless and wiring up towns and stuff. But I mean, it was interesting to watch Verizon go berserk after Philadelphia was like, "Hey, nobody wants to bring us Wi-Fi, or excuse me, Wi-Fi. Nobody wants to bring the city, broadband. Great, we'll wire the city."
Somebody,
And that was-
if one of our TWiT audience members could fill us in on this, Verizon offers this FiOS thing, which you said is bogus. Very fast, 15 megabits down, 2 megabits up, $50 a month. But I got an email from somebody who said, but the latency is awful. Which would be significant. I mean, it doesn't mean a lot if you get a lot of bandwidth, and if you've got a 200 millisecond or a 1,000 millisecond latency.
It depends on what you're doing.
Well, if
Are
you do web
doing-
surfing, which you have lots of files, I mean, when you
Yeah.
hit a web page, you're not just hitting a web page. You're hitting that server over and over again to
Right.
bring every image and everything down one after another. It could be 50 things that it has to hit.
But terrible
and if there's a
World of
lot of
Warcraft.
latency, the web page takes forever to come up.
Or World of Warcraft.
Are there any cell phone providers offering decent internet performance?
Define
with, like, maybe
decent.
This has Edge,
like
which is about
megabit. Can you do
No.
megabit speed over cell networks?
No, it's funny though. But the third
Half a
generation
megabit.
stuff was all these promises of this and that.
Well,
you know.
It's 500, 512,
Think about how nice it would be
768.
to have a Bluetooth-enabled
this has-
cell phone in your pocket.
Try it.
Well,
Well,
that
Bluetooth
links
doesn't
to
have
the notebook
enough.
wirelessly.
Bluetooth doesn't have enough. I don't know.
Do a
Bluetooth.
megabit over.
I think that's the
It doesn't
No,
have much
no,
distance
no.
though.
Not on
Bluetooth's
Bluetooth.
like,
It's
no.
like 768
It's more like
or 512.
It's
It's
much
very
slower
slow.
than that. It's
Yeah.
extremely slow.
It's not intended for that.
But I mean,
In-
just
in
instead
real
of having to
world-
actually plug like a USB cable.
I mean,
in
that's
my
that's
notebook or-
absolutely the dream, right? But the
Bluetooth's
problem is
a
that
megabit.
Here,
yeah,
surf
but
on
I
this.
think
This
in
is
real
Edge.
world it drops a lot
This
lower
is
than that.
Singular's 3G is Edge, and Verizon's CVDO. Both of them seem about
The radio
512.
on this device is currently turned off, or the battery's too low, which is probably
No, I
true.
turned on off the radio. I thought I turned it back on. Just go ahead.
No, you didn't.
Turn it on.
But I mean,
It's
like,
like turn it on. It's like
we
some
were sitting in
mystery.
an airport once, and Leo was trying to log into the Wi-Fi in the airport, and he's getting out his credit card, and he can't get his laptop. And I
fly
like
JetBlue.
whipped out my
Free.
Sprint.
Yeah,
And,
and they get nothing but flack for that, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is another example of people, not letting you get free stuff because
Vegas airport.
because
Free
the
Wi-Fi,
airport,
which is awesome.
wants to make some money, and these
Oh,
guys.
yeah,
that
they have
come-
these little areas, the JetBlue areas.
know,
But then,
JetBlue is like a bad guy for giving it away.
Yeah, I mean, and
30 plus channels.
Does JetBlue still have are all its call center representatives at Mormons in their house? That's how they used to do it. Little old lady Mormons. And
I
believe
doubt
that
it, but I doubt
I wouldn't.
it.
I wouldn't.
All I
yeah,
know is
I
that's
wouldn't
one of the
doubt it.
best pilots
Well,
in
I
the
would
world.
now that they got all these routes. They couldn't.
Recent
There wouldn't be
performance.
enough old ladies that are Mormons.
You are not currently in an area that can
Utah's a
handle data
big place.
communication.
Well, it's
there's a lot of
Oh,
empty
well, so much
space
for
in
Edge.
Utah.
It doesn't work.
It says you're not in
Have
an
you
area
seen
that
the
can
big
handle
salt
data.
bay?
That's not true. It works great. I don't know what. Maybe this building is.
No, it's probably your batteries.
Maybe the
These
batteries.
things, the batteries only last for about 25 minutes.
That's not true.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
No, that's not true. It's been great. For
How long have you had it?
25 minutes. But the battery's still great. So eBay is in court. U.S. Supreme Court's going to hear the story over
the story.
Buy It Now.
Of a site called eBay.
It's another one of these patent things.
Are they being sued by Amazon?
Merck Exchange says it holds the patent for something called consignment nodes, which includes the concept of, they've patented this, logging into an auction site and buying something for a fixed price. That's Buy It Now on eBay.
Buy it now, right?
The U.S. Supreme Court's going to hear this, but this is why it's important. If the Supreme Court overturns, I wish Larry Lessig were here because he's an actual lawyer, you know.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. If they overturn the precedent of exclusivity of invention, this is from Ars Technica, which grants absolute right of control over a patent to the holder, it could mean that they could institute mandatory licensing, which would really solve things like this RIM case, where you just say that the patent holder has to license. There's a set fee, whatever it is, 4%. And then RIM could say, all right, well, we know there's patents, we know it's encumbered, but we can license it, and we know what it's going to cost us. We don't have to go to court.
Right.
This could be a very big deal. We should watch this story.
It sounds reasonable.
Sounds like another show of triangulation.
Triangulation coming up. So our first triangulation was on the Google print. We'll release that probably in a couple of days. You, me, and Larry Lessig talking about that. I didn't have much to say, so it was really. What's a two-sided triangle?
It's
Yeah.
there's a joke there, and I just couldn't come up with
I
it.
was giving you the.
I know, I used a softball, and it was like, oh my God, I was first softball tonight. And then I just choked and missed it.
In a stunning turn of events, Massachusetts Secretary of Administration and Finance Thomas Trimarco has revealed that Microsoft's recent efforts to make Office XML a ratified standard may make the format acceptable to the government. Massachusetts is back in Microsoft's court.
Yeah, we know the reason why.
Yeah, because they were paying off that guy, and he was flying all over the.
I still like it. Basically, it's the openness of the patent seems to be you could if you reverse engineer their file format, their XML file format, they won't sue you. That's pretty much my understanding of what the agreement says.
I don't know why. I just don't trust Microsoft to open the Office format. I don't. Doesn't seem like
I
something
don't
they
think
would
they,
ever
you
do.
know. Sometimes you might not trust them, but sometimes I don't think they can. I think there's a lot of spaghetti code at Microsoft.
Oh, I see what you're saying. They can't reveal it because you would go, ooh.
Right, that or they can't.
Or they literally can't.
They did some clever things.
Undocumented and
Compatibility with
Well-
the previous version, sure.
I mean, one of the
I'll get-
website tools we're running is based on .NET, and it does some interesting stuff where it generates code. And it was just like, it's one of those moments where it's like something goes wrong. You click on, the part where it opens the HTML, and you look at it, and you're sitting there and like, because I mean, you
It's
know,
like what they did with front page.
I can't. Yeah, I can't code to save my life, but when I look at a page and I realize that this is an atrocious mess, it's obviously gone.
Well, I'll give you an example, and I think this is still in Word. The original Word format used a byte code for letters. They were trying to save space.
Yeah, well, it's
So,
like
'cause this
the
was-
words starting the up and
Yeah.
flipping the bit.
Now you could do 8 bits, a byte, and you'd have plenty of space. But they were actually, they were getting each letter into a nibble, a half a byte, by doing that, by flipping bits. Crazy stuff, crazy stuff. And a letter wouldn't end on a 8-bit board boundary. It'd overlap, and I mean, that's what makes it hard to figure this stuff out.
Right, it's impossible actually.
So you may be right. They may not be able to open this stuff because they're so tied to it. So what's the deal? Anybody know with this strike against Call of Duty? Did you see that?
No.
Oh, that was due to lack of updates and support, basically for online cheating. It involves updates to the Pump Buster client and the server operators who basically, I imagine it costs some money to run a server sucking all that bandwidth all day long with multiplayer gaming.
December 16th.
And if the cheating becomes rampant, then nobody wants to play anymore.
So they're essentially striking against
Who's they?
the guys who
Server
run the
admins.
game servers. They're striking against Activision because Activision hasn't kept Call of Duty 2 up to date and reliable.
Starting with Call of Duty, the United Opposing Forces, what is it? United Offensive, which was the update to the original, as well as apparently now version 2 of Call of Duty. It just apparently they're not keeping up with the security features. Online cheating, as soon as it starts to happen,
Oh,
with
it kills
any
the game. Kills the game.
Yeah.
You don't wanna play
The
it.
fun is gone.
So there's a manifesto. They've issued a manifesto to Activision. They said I think this is fascinating. It's a whole new. The servers are going to shut down December 16th for 24 hours.
Just wait until this
unless
goes up on Dig.
you figure you solve this problem. I love this. We will not be ignored any longer. And this is all in caps.
Caps.
Talk to us and help us to help you make Call of Duty series better. Desperate times call for desperate measures. This is Nathan Hale
You
stuff.
have been warned. it
You
says.
have been warned. Good Lord.
These guys need to get a girlfriend.
Give me cheat fixes or give me death.
Go play another game. Walk outside.
I like Elliot Spitzer. I'm liking Elliot Spitzer more and more.
Oh yeah, me too.
Attorney General in New
Yeah,
York.
the guy's got a lot of nuts. That's for sure.
He's going after Sony. Now, Texas and California already sued Sony.
Did Spitzer realize that there's easy money in some of these things?
Maybe that's it.
And
he's
it's
going
good for the
governor.
state. Yeah.
He's going for
Well, that's
governor.
what he saw. What Giuliani did,
Yeah.
with all his.
This is- It's the
legal-
classic route.
Yeah, in New York.
You become a crusading DA.
Right.
I think it's in Batman.
Totally. Well,
isn't it?
Dewey, when he ran against Truman, he was the same. I mean, he got his way to running for
Reformer.
president.
That's right. Well, I'm sure Spitzer wants to be president. It is unacceptable that more than 3... I should do this in a Roosevelt
say,
voice.
what are you
More than
doing?
3 weeks... Well, I got the microphone.
I know.
I'll
You got
cut
the
my ear.
microphone.
After this serious vulnerability was revealed, these same CDs are still on the shelves during the busiest shopping days of the year. I don't know if Elliot Spitzer talks like that,
not
but
bad.
he
I like it.
He ought to.
You got to do the Roosevelt voice
I
more often.
strongly urge all retailers...
Now you're becoming Kennedy.
So...
Stay on.
Get this. He said a
Point here
group
with
of
the voice.
investigators disguised as customers to local stores.
Brother.
None of them had any trouble purchasing these XCP copy protected discs.
But Sony's
Shocking.
doing everything it
Sony
can.
has really got a problem.
Isn't this interesting to watch a once great company just die on the vine?
I don't know if they're dying on the vine.
I think they're having nothing but trouble.
I think they're making just a lot of judgment errors over
And over. It's
and
going to
over.
catch up. It's going to ruin the company.
What was it that
You watch, they'll start
As far as
spinning off stuff
The
pretty
Well,
soon.
they've been
transition
doing
to
it,
digital formats, they just
they didn't make it?
ignored it.
They
ignored
didn't.
it.
You know what happened?
ignored file
Akio
trading.
Morita died, right?
That's the end. That was the beginning of the end.
And that was in '98. Then they started buying movie companies and record companies, and
Well, they bought that earlier. I mean,
Yeah.
Sony started buying record companies
Yeah,
right
yeah,
after they couldn't get the DAT or the DAT thing. So that was like 91.
oh, that's soon.
91,
All right.
yeah.
Well, Morita was
But with
responsible.
Morita in there, it was a different story. When these new guys took over, it's been coming. Now you got a British guy running it who
Well, and,
seems to be
Howard Stringer.
Stringer. He seems to be clueless.
Used to be a network executive.
Yeah.
Well, what's amazing is
Which just shows you, right?
there's so many places where they're so close to being successful, and they're snatching failure out of the teeth of success. I mean,
Yeah.
the PSP, which is doing really well, if they opened up,
what
if
a
they
great
opened up the
product that
Wi-Fi,
could be.
if they opened up the Wi-Fi, just let anyone do whatever they want with it. That thing would wipe out the iPod
so
in like
close.
45 seconds because
right.
I'm sitting there able to just sit there and download stuff and
get
watch
it. They
movies,
don't
and
understand.
they want to control it, and they want it
They're
to
control freaks. That's why the memory stick. They brought that thing out. I mean, what did they even want to control the? If somebody wants to buy something, as part of their product, they want everything to be, their brand.
They're so close.
It's terrible.
Speaking of control freaks, you see what China's going to do? They're going to create their own DVD format.
Just because they can.
You know what? I'd take money on that one. I don't think it's going to happen.
You don't think so?
No,
I think it might would happen within their borders.
I don't think it will.
Yeah.
I think there's just too many roadblocks to it.
I mean, if you have that DVD logo on front of any product, you're paying to the DVD forum group.
So they just don't want to pay the money.
essentially what they're going to do is they're going to end up doing a deal where they get a better rate. This is typical Chinese.
It's just a negotiation ploy.
You know, okay, well, you're going to get nothing.
Oh, it's a profit deal.
There's money involved.
So you should do this one, Alex, because you're the one who launched this phaser. The U.S. Air Force has invented the phaser.
Voice.
It is to blind people. You know, so it's not a. It is
like
under the.
that.
It was a Joint Non-Lethal Weapons Directorate.
What's
Wasn't
special
there-
about that?
Wasn't there news for a while? There was news like that pilots were being blinded by laser pointers.
Oh yeah.
Like the
Yeah,
terrorists
like
were
5
aiming
milliamp.
laser pointers at.
Oh yeah. Well, at first they thought it was like some sort of tracking system for a missile launcher, but it turns out you can buy on the internet some are very expensive, but pen beams basically that'll go 70 miles.
Yeah.
And
Really?
they'll cut through plastic.
What?
And light
Close
matches
up,
on
close
fire.
up.
Yeah.
They're like modified.
Woz is totally
pen
into
lasers.
this. Woz actually, we're going to get
For
Woz
about
on Twit
500
in the next
bucks,
few
you can get one
weeks, but
that's close to a.
he
We're actually
he
busy.
showed my son, my 11-year-old son, how to mod a laser pointer to do stuff like that.
Overclocking it. Overclock the laser.
We'll get him on the show.
Make it on.
I think that this is the over the century. I mean, this is just the very beginning of the move away from projectile weapons and into energy weapons.
Yes.
This is the beginning of that. And
Because
it'll,
I've
gonna
watched
be
too many
a-
Star Wars.
That's going to be a complicated journey.
Where's my book?
it's going to be a complicated transition, but it'll by the end of the
Nothing
century it'll
works as
happen.
well as a bullet.
Seriously.
A lot of AK-47s in the world.
We can't even get fuel cells in our notebooks and cell phones and
But that's
whatnot.
what they'll look at though 100 years from
Now
now.
you
That's
need
where
a
all the
small
money's going to
nuclear
go. Maybe
reactor
100
to-
years from now it will be different, but right now, bullet still is pretty damn good.
Dr. Dvorak is back. I'm happy about that. This is another example. Open source movements can make mistakes too. The Dvorak folks, which created a pretty good codec, and they created Dr. Dvorak for encoding. And then about, I don't know, it wasn't that long ago, 6 months ago, they decided to kill Dr. Dvorak and come up with some lousy replacement. Everybody just bitched and moaned. So the open source community has taken over Dr. Dvorak, and it's out now. So drdivx.com. And
How's it compared to XVID, which is what all the kids use?
XVID is a nightmare to encode.
is it? I mean, it's just it's supposed to be
Well, a lot of
Dvorak, right?
problems.
Isn't it just supposed to be open source Dvorak?
Yeah,
No, it's a German version. It's got less features, but it's supposed to be more compact.
All
It
the
has a,
verbs are at the beginning.
very loud
It's
and very
backwards.
loyal.
Yeah.
Of the
Verbs are at the end, you know.
of the set-top DVD players that support MPEG-4, XVID works perfectly with those, and it's really it's nice just to
XVID
be able to
encode
take
you
that.
will.
I've looked at some stuff on XVID, and it's like, wow. I mean, I'm stunned by the file size compared to the quality. I mean, the quality is tremendous, and the file size is nothing.
Yeah, it is
The new
pretty
goals
amazing.
for a lot of the stuff I see online for like your widescreen TV shows,
Megaminute.
or they're putting two onto a single recordable CD, so it's 350 megs for an hour
Yeah,
show.
I know. That's why I got.
Which is-
Yeah, I know. It's
And
amazing.
it still looks pretty. And they're starting with the HD feed,
It looks
and then reducing it.
terrific.
But
Yeah,
I
no,
agree
they
with
show
you.
it in HD feed, and they put it on 350 megs, and it's like you look at it,
Do
you
an
go,
amazing
holy
encode job.
mackerel!
But
this
you're
is
getting
good.
some of those
They
math
spent
breaks
some
down
time.
to pretty
somebody
small.
get it.
That's-
Yeah,
Good
processing.
encoders.
We hover around a mega minute for the Mac breaks.
But that's H.264,
It's H.264.
and one of the reasons is because it's a lot of screenshots,
Yeah,
right?
the more screenshots you have, obviously, the H.264 gets really, really efficient. There's a lot of ways to make things more efficient, and that's one of them.
That's a very pretty.
A lot of people still don't realize that how much CPU power is involved to decode H.264, the full advanced video AVC version of it.
Right.
It's just a lot of people are like, oh, why is it 2 frames a second on my PC at home? Well, it's like your PC's a piece of crap and you need to upgrade.
But MPEG-4 can be the same way.
say
Though.
you really feel.
It can get
Simple
chunky when you
profile
start
stuff?
scrubbing. Scrubbing is something that a lot of times.
Are you talking post-processing filters or?
No. When you're scrubbing, when you're just looking, when you're jumping around,
moving around.
MPEG-4 a lot of times won't like that on a slower machine. It'll really start to slow down and chunk. So they're all of them. That's what you're going to pay for it somewhere. It's either going to look good or it's going to need more processing power, and so that's what
Yeah,
You can
that's
have
what
two
you
of
go
the
course
three,
for.
but not all three.
We're going to wrap this thing up. Remember to look for the what?
I want to have my Christmas gifts.
Well, let's not forget. Alex has some. Alex is going to play Secret Santa.
So there were some people requesting that I got a couple emails of people requesting, will DV Garage, put some coupons out for the TWiT Army, and so we decided to go ahead and put one out. So we have 2, and we'll put them in the show notes.
Patrick's doing that right now.
We rarely put any public sales out, so it's kind of, we have a DV Garage list of about 100,000 people, and those are the people who usually get all the sales, and this is even deeper than that. So if you use TWiT Army in the coupon code on the DV Garage site, you'll get 40% off.
Wow, that's great.
Anything there.
So those are training CDs?
There's training discs. The ones that I think a lot of listeners are probably most interested in are the Photoshop discs. So, I mean, I have some training stuff that I did on basic Photoshop and how to key, how to remove people from stuff. And so anyway, that's 40% off. Also for the Pixel Core, which we're going to be doing tons of podcast training, Photoshop training, super high-end film training over, all through next year. If you use PXC TWiT, you'll get $125 off. So normally it's $200 for 3 months, and so it's $75. So it's over 50% off.
Wow, that's a great deal.
So anyway, if people are interested, that's our Christmas.
We're giving them
Christmas
away.
cheer. So
and I'm going to have TWiT hoodies at our meetup, which you're going to be at the meetup, right, Alex? December 15th in Toronto. Mm-hmm. You guys, if you want to come to Toronto, December 15th is a beautiful time of year.
Oh, yeah, as long as you stay underground.
They do. They have an entire underground.
Yeah, I know. I've been down there.
It's
great.
Yeah. But we're getting some more TWiT hoodies, and I hope we'll be able to get those also on the TWiT store. We're launching productions like crazy, so we're going to triangulate this week. And then Mac Break is soon. We're getting to work on that. We're going to start doing some Mac Break minutes to kind of start warming up for Mac Break, which is our 30-minute TV show, internet TV show about Macs. Do you want to announce anything, Patrick Norton? Digital Life TV?
Still DL.TV. Still doing it.
Oh, is it DL.TV as well as DLTV.com?
Yes. It'll work as DL.TV or DL.TV.
That's very smart. That's very wise.
I must plug the Dvorak.org blog.
Please do.
Do you get no spam?
Dvorak, generally.
Okay. Yeah, how is that
going?
Is it still
generally?
No, I still don't get any spam, but I get, the blog gets spammed.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, Dvorak.org/blog.
Spam it.
Don't spam it. It gets plenty of spam.
What else? Anything else we want to thank? Any plugs you want to do, Robert?
I'm pretty good.
Say hi to your mom.
Hi, Mom.
Your hairstylist?
That's my buddy Jeff.
I thought so.
I'm surprised they didn't make you carve your name in that
Number 2
thing.
clippers.
What was I going to say?
The number 2 attachment.
You look kind of like Drew Carey now.
Didn't you tell him I'm on TV, dude?
I'm on standard def. I can get away with a lot of it.
There was actually an outcry because the baby mullet disappeared. There were some people that were very upset about that.
I let it go.
Anything's better
After
than
a year,
I
my hair
do
gets
too.
pretty
Mullets.
I can go for a year without cutting it. That'd be cool.
I want to thank the folks at AOL Radio for providing the bandwidth for this and, of course, putting us on their podcast channel at AOLmusic.com. Thanks again to Bob Heil. Did you enjoy your microphones, boys?
They were delightful.
I'm going to have to listen and find out.
Yeah, we don't know yet, do we?
No, it's a crapshoot.
We want to talk to Bob about making a special Dvorak mic that's notched between 200 and 400 hertz.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Well, you with a big diaphragm like this, I probably, like you said, don't.
You may not need it.
Yeah.
Robert and I are like, notched. Yeah, that's important.
It is if you have a lavalier. I'm telling you.
You got a notch between 200 and 400. If not just lavalier, you have to have a special kind of voice like John has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do it.
That'll do it. Anything else? God, it just feels like there's something else we wanted to talk about, and I just can't remember.
We'll talk about it next week.
Okay, we could do that. I know. I won't be here next week, but I know. I'm going to be going to do Regis and Kelly.
We'll do a Skype.
I'll give them your best.
Did you want to ask people about the enhanced version? Or
I do. We're going to have a poll on this. Now, this is an interesting issue because currently we offer this podcast as an MP3. That's the main feed. You can go to the BitTorrents and get AAC, or you can get Ogg Vorbis or a lower bitrate MP3. But there is a format that works with iPods and iTunes called Enhanced AAC that allows you to do chaptering and images and links, and it's really a great format for incorporating show notes into the podcast. And I'd like to offer it that way, but the problem is it's not MP3, it's AAC. So should the main feed be Enhanced AAC, or should
I
think we should stick with MP3?
It, yeah.
And then offer a BitTorrent version of the enhanced, or if we can talk AOL into it, maybe they'll let us do HTTP feeds, main feeds.
I think eventually you move toward that kind of stuff. But
What I don't want to do is cannibalize iTunes and have it split into 2 feeds, because then you'll get half this. Then it looks like you're a smaller podcast.
Right.
We like being in that top 5 day in, day out.
Right, and it sustains.
By the way, another podcast has accused us of cheating.
What do we do?
I don't know.
I'd like to find out.
Who would choose
Yeah.
Maybe we can use this trick.
If we were good at cheating, all my podcasts would be up there. I haven't figured out how.
We should experiment.
They claim that we're telling our Twit Army to unsubscribe and resubscribe regularly.
I think all you have to do is
haven't.
just keep on
I've
subscribing.
never heard
I don't
that.
think you have
We've
to
never said
unsubscribe
that.
and resubscribe.
Well, folks, now we know. Do it.
Well, that would be another reason to go to Enhanced AAC.
It sounded like all you had to do is just hit the subscribe.
Yeah,
button
that
over
was a
and over
bug,
again.
but I think they fixed that bug.
They
It's
got rid
certainly
of that
not as
before
volatile as
6
it
out.
used to be. Yeah.
Hey, we
So
try it on
who's the
DLTV
podcast
and
that was
see what
complaining
happens.
about us?
Inside Mac Radio.
How do they do it?
I think.
I can't believe they
no,
can't
no.
say they're not number one.
Inside Mac Radio?
I think it
Does
was.
anyone listen to that?
I didn't hear it. It's Scott Shepard's a nice guy. I know him very well. I've been on
Okay.
the chat show before, and I didn't even hear this. But somebody told me that they were.
It's probably one of these guys trying to make trouble.
It's funny. I mean, they're already, now that podcasting is kind of growing. It started very collegial and friendly.
Yeah,
and
now it's
there's already
starting to get
little bit of the going on.
It's going to get worse.
Well, look what Adam Curry's been doing. With the Wikipedia.
Yeah.
It's just the beginning.
Well, it's also ironic because iTunes is such a. I mean, it's such a strange metric that they're measuring, but people are like,
And nobody knows how they're doing it. In fact, I think it's inside Mac Insider, Mac Observer, swears that they're caching their podcasts.
Yeah.
And Apple says, no, we're not. The only times we've ever cached is when the podcaster specifically said, please do, because I can't afford the bandwidth. And we've occasionally agreed to do that. But why would they cache podcasts? It would just cost them more money. I don't know.
All right, we're done.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to wrap this thing up. I just can't. I like this mic. I don't want to stop. I love
Ladies
it.
and gentlemen,
Taking the mic home.
another-
He has a small bassinet for it.
Another twit. I can't stop. Is in the can.
This top 15 picture richest people.
Oh, I want to hear that. Okay, who's that? Should we go backwards? Let's go backwards. It's number 10.
Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka, very
This
rich.
is off of Forbes.com. Right
Owns
today.
his own. Now, how do they figure out how rich Willy Wonka is?
Got a lot of chocolate.
It doesn't say in the book.
Or converted the dollar amounts to into current 2000.
Willy
It
Wonka-
is.
I got to blog this.
Okay, number
This
9.
is cool. Thurston Howell III.
Oh yeah, he was
Gilligan's
richer.
Island.
He was richer than Willy Wonka. Lovey, make me another martini.
Number 8, Bruce Wayne.
Oh yeah, stately Wayne Manor.
Batman.
Yeah.
Number 7, Jed Clampett. That's a lot of oil.
How do they know how rich Jed Clampett was?
I must have said
He got
something.
into it during the series.
And then if he says somewhere that he has 160 million, then you have to convert from 1960s to now. And
Texas tea.
6 is Scrooge McDuck.
Scrooge McDuck. Well, he had a vault of money that he could roll around in. That's pretty rich.
That's pretty good. 5 is C. Montgomery Burns.
Excellent.
Friends, my twits, are you ready?
That guy is.
Number 5.
He had $1 trillion
Kill the
bill.
top 4.
The Castro stuff from him.
Yeah.
That one episode.
See, I think Burns might be number 1. Okay, well, who's richer than C. Montgomery Burns?
Lex Luthor, number 4.
Lex Luthor. He's richer than Batman?
Yes.
Is he richer than Superman?
I guess crime does pay.
Evil pays. I'm telling you. Number 3, Richie Rich.
Just because he's named Richie Rich? How could you put
Trust
Richie?
fund.
This
Good-
is
Don't
Good
tell me
trust
number
fund.
1. Says the
I won't
kid.
say it. Yeah,
I want them to guess.
Number 2 was Oliver Daddy Warbucks.
Daddy Warbucks, very wealthy. Okay, the richest fictional character in the world, The Great Gatsby.
Not even talking.
Okay,
Who's
Aristotle Onassis.
Who's Lucius Malfoy?
Oh, he's in the Harry Potter series. Oh. How would they know how rich he is? It's not even real money, it's wizard money.
is he number 1? The Harry Potter.
It's the Muggle crap.
Because we have children in the audience who can't tell you number 1.
No.
You might be able to guess.
Oh, there's a hint. It's a fictional
It's a
character.
naughty fictional character.
A naughty fictional
No,
character.
not at all. But if you think of the Christmas season,
Jessica
you might guess
Rabbit.
it.
Oh. He's the
I'm
richest?
Not bad.
If you think about it,
He's got all those elves.
minimally. All right, so we're out of here.
We're out of here.